Today, we're going to talk about what Godzilla has to do with bread. Hello, and welcome to Geek Devotions, a show from a couple devoted geeks devoted to letting you know that you are loved. I am Celeste, and this is King of the Monsters Month. We are talking about Godzilla all the time, like for our Friday devotions, we're talking about it on the podcast, we're doing special extra Tuesdays about Godzilla and Kaiju, hashtag Kaiju needs taco, Kaiju wants taco, Kaiju gets a taco. So, that being said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as check out all of our social medias, because we're doing things different on all of them. We always have different content on the Instagram than we do the Facebook, and on the Facebook than we do on YouTube. We have a Bible study every Tuesday night on the book of John right now, and it's been going really well. You should check it out. Also, don't forget to check out our podcast, Comm Talk, found on your favorite podcast catcher. Let's get into things. The 1998 version of Godzilla with Matthew Broderick was an epic of my generation. Everyone, even if you didn't see it, at least knew about it. Everyone saw those commercials with the Taco Bell put out with the little bitty chihuahua going, "Here, lizard, 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 lizard." Everyone saw those. You quoted it. You know you did. I might have had little stuffed chihuahuas that when you pressed them, they said, "Here, lizard, 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 lizard." I also had one that said, "Yo quiero Taco Bell," which was funny because I really didn't eat a lot of Taco Bell. It was just good marketing. Really good marketing, guys. I just recently watched the movie for the first time, and I loved it. I like dinosaurs and dragons and lizards. This is a thing for me. I love them. And the scene with all the baby kaiju running around was the most adorable to me. They were just hungry. They didn't realize that what was running away from them was humans and they shouldn't eat it. They just hatched. That scene, though, with the baby dinosaurs, got me thinking. Isn't our sin like that? In the movie, Matthew Broderick tries to convince the American government that there are all these eggs that have been laid, and they need to be taken care of. The government doesn't want to listen to him. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that these eggs are there. They just want to take care of the big monster that everyone sees and get a pat on the back. Take care of the problem, get rewarded. That's what they're thinking. While Matthew Broderick sees that this nest is going to become a serious problem. So he tries to go take care of it, and it turns out they have to take such drastic measures that they would not have had to take had things been taken care of appropriately. The eggs hatched, the baby kaiju are running all over the place eating people because, again, they're hungry. They just want tacos. They don't realize that the humans are not tacos. Side note, if you have not checked out our shirts on Redbubble, you should. They look awesome. Because we determined that all kaiju really wants is a taco. You can get it in Japanese and English. Both words are taco. Sometimes our sin is like the baby kaiju. We could have taken care of it earlier, but we ignored the problem to the point of where it's rampaging and eating people. Okay, maybe not eating people, but you get the point. It takes extreme measures at that point to take care of the problem that, had we taken care of sooner, would not have been as big of a deal. In Galatians 5:9, it says, "A little leaven leavens the whole lump of dough." Leaven is another word for yeast. You have to have yeast in bread. It makes it rise. Now, there are other things you can do to make the bread rise. Thank you, Great British Baking Show, for informing me of this. But at this time, yeast was the primary use of making bread rise. And you only need just a little bit to make a whole loaf of bread rise. It doesn't take a lot. In fact, I Googled, because I was curious, what happens when you put too much yeast in bread. According to Google, if you add more yeast to a bread dough, the dough will rise faster. However, several negative things can happen if you add too much yeast. The dough may rise too quickly, produce too much gluten. When this happens, the dough may collapse, similar to a balloon bursting when it's filled with air. Friends, if we have too much sin in our lives, we may burst like that lump of dough, like a balloon. Things in our life will just go crazy, and we may realize by that point, but it could have been taken care of before it reached this point. I would encourage you to look at yourself constantly, examine yourself, and make sure that there is no even a hint of sin in your life. Now, obviously, the bread and the yeast analogy does not go on and work completely because most breads do need yeast to rise. There are the few that don't. But they require a little bit. And friend, you do not have to have any sin in your life because of the grace of Jesus. It does provide a good mental image, though, of the bread dough bursting and how sometimes we feel in our lives when we've sinned and we know it and we know that it's a problem. So that's your mental image to go with this. Not just the baby kaiju running around looking adorable, but a bread dough bursting. Okay, well, that was your devotion for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it encourages you and that it pushes you to do things that you really should do. So, that being said, you should definitely check out our podcast this week. We have a special guest, Mr. LJ Lowry of Geeks Under Grace podcast. I almost said Geek Devotions, but he's not. He's just going to be on Comm Talk. We are so super excited. LJ's a really cool guy, and we are so psyched to have him on. Don't forget to check out our Tuesday video on the Bible study on John. We're going to be going through chapter 10, and then we will have another devotion to you next Friday. And then we also, this month, for King of the Monsters month, on Comm Talk, have Mr. Francisco Ruiz and Paul J. Powers separately coming on to talk with us. They are both from Retro Rewind Podcast, and they're going to be joining us in a discussion about 2 different Godzilla movies. That being said, now it's time for our question of the week. The question of the week is, if you had a baby kaiju, what would you name it? We made the video Tuesday about how to make tacos for kaiju, and we used our dinosaur. His name is Azul. And not because he is a kaiju, but because he's a dinosaur, and we like to use him for things. He used to be what held our mic before we got this lovely mic here, because we were using our lapel mic. And so we like to include him when we can. So his name is Azul. What would you name yours? Let us know in the comments. Y'all have a good week. Stay devoted. Peace and love.